Hi, it's Dean Z speaking to you from my basement. Today I want to talk to you about law school recruiting events. What's the deal with that? How should you approach them? What should you hope to get from them? Let's start by talking about your goals and specifically what your goal probably shouldn't be, although many people go into it with this goal. So people often think, I want to meet the representative of my dream school. I want to make an amazing impression. I want them to think I am so great and they'll remember me forever. And then when they review my application, this will be the thing that gets me in. Totally understandable that you would have that goal, but it is pretty unrealistic. So here's why. First of all, for schools, many schools, the volume of people that they'll meet at a given event is just extraordinary. So it's very hard to stand out in that setting, given how many people they're meeting. And even when you do, I will tell you, it is hard for the representative to write your name down and then remember it by the end of the event. I don't think I'm the only one with that problem. So number one, it's hard to do at all. Number two, sometimes the people at the event are not the people who are making decisions on your application. So, it might be a student, it might be an alum, it might be, an assistant director in an office, all of whom there is a lot of information you can get from them, but they're not in a position to say, I had such an amazing interaction with this person, you should definitely admit them. So it can happen that, you make that kind of connection, but it's sort of like any human interaction or relationship. It isn't, you're not likely to get there just by dint of wanting it to happen. And, you don't want to come on too strong and you don't want to appear, needy kind of, right? So maybe it'll happen because you just connect with this person. Maybe it won't, and it's fine if it doesn't. So don't worry about it. The one exception to this, I think, is if it's a smaller school, maybe with a much smaller volume of applicants, and you have a strong reason for wanting that school. In that case, you might be able to, at a particular kind of event, spend enough time with someone that they really get a chance to have an impression of you, and that might be a time where you can actually start building an actual kind of relationship. So, but in most cases, that should not be your goal. Your goal should be to get as much information out of the representative as possible. So it is helpful to prepare, to spend time thinking, what is it that I want to learn from whatever school? Maybe you feel like you don't have any particular questions. You are getting all the information you need from the website. That's totally fine. It is absolutely fine to kind of hang back, and if it's depending on the kind of event, totally appropriate to hang back and watch the representative have interactions with other people and soak up a little knowledge that way. So, and it's also, I should say, like, if you don't feel like you need any particular information, then you don't need to go to one of these events. Okay. Admissions cat is here, but I think he's going to snub me. So let's move on. If you do have questions, think in advance, like, what kind of information could I get from a school that would make me feel like move me down the road towards being more or less interested in that school? What is it that is important to me? And then the way to approach this is going to depend on the kind of event it is. So let's start by talking about this year's special kind of recruiting events from LSAC, which is their online forums. Usually these events are in person, completely different. And now it's this online thing that is very texting heavy. Now, some schools will also have Zoom rooms where you can meet with representatives and have conversations. Michigan does that, for example, but not all schools will do it. And the default way of communicating is through chat, maybe in a group, maybe one-on-one, depending on, again, choices that the school will make. But texting is a very different kind of, as we all know, is a very different kind of, communication format compared to speaking with someone. So your questions in that context, they should be short and to the point, like things that can be answered in a sentence or two, as opposed to like, tell me what you love about school XYZ, which is like going to give the person palpitations because they'll be like, lots of things, I don't know. So, try and come up with questions that will be easily answered through providing links or, a few words or some facts. Like that's the best way to deal with the text situation. And also I will just say from a user's perspective, it's not the greatest texting format. So bear with the representatives of the school if they are slow about answering. What else? So there are many, other than the texting format that is specific to LSAC, I believe, there are many events that will involve Zoom interactions where you can have actual conversations in sort of small groups with representatives of schools. And those are basically identical to the in-person events, and you can get a lot of information there. Now, first of all, one of the nice things about doing it via Zoom is that it is much more natural to just be sitting back and watching other people's questions if you don't have any questions of your own. And you can soak up a lot of information about what the school thinks is important about the school, what kind of representatives it sends, like what their personality is like. Do they seem patient? Do they seem forthcoming? Do they seem open? All those things. That can tell you a lot about what you're dealing with. And if you do, of course, maybe you do have questions, so you'll want to ask those. Sometimes people feel like, my question is so specific to me, I feel bad asking it. Don't. People often have the same question. You may think it's specific to you, but it maybe 3 other people on there have the exact same question, or maybe it will prompt someone else to ask a question that is related. Don't feel bad about asking a question just because you think it is very, sui generis, as we say in the law, and specific to you. Perfectly appropriate to ask that. The other kind of event, oh my God. Sorry, Leo is, come here, Leo. Give the people what they want. Come here. What would you say at an admissions event? That's such a stupid question. Why am I asking that? I don't know. Anyway. Okay. Okay, so they're the kind of events, where Zoom room and you're getting one-on-one interaction with an admissions representative, but there are also events that schools might put on, usually undergraduate schools, where you'll have, representatives of 4 different law schools, and they'll be answering specific questions. And you can also learn a lot from those. Again, both about the substance of the answers they give, and their approach to answering these questions, and how open and, just forthcoming they seem to be. I think that can tell you a lot. So basically, your goal for any kind of event is to extract information from the school, either explicitly by asking questions or implicitly by observing other people ask questions. It should probably not be, that you will make an impression that will stay with the representative for the rest of their life, just to be realistic. Let's also talk briefly about, when I say like what, think of what questions would be useful to you. Some questions, you do you should ask whatever you feel like you want. But if it's a really straightforward question, like what is your median LSAT score? Something that the answer is like 1 or 2 words. Again, this is for the in-person interactions, not for the texting interactions. It's 1 or 2 words, and there's nothing more to say about that. That's not like a great question. And I will tell you, as a representative, it can feel awkward. You're like, you say the answer, and then you're like, I don't know what to do next. So it can be helpful to think of something that is maybe not so cut and dried, but also, will maybe make the person think a little bit more than like sort of their talking points. And that can be very illuminating for you as the questioner. But I will also say, sometimes people they'll ask a sort of aggressive question like, well, why should I apply to Michigan? Or what's so great about Michigan? Or something along those lines. And, or they'll ask a question that I think is sort of like meant to be I don't know, provocative, like, what's the worst thing about Michigan? And again, you knew you, but that's not likely to get be a particularly forthcoming response. Like, this is like, we're there, representatives of the schools are there to like get you information, not to hide the ball. And so it's great if you could come into it with a sort of expectation that that is how the relationship is going to go, and not here goes Leo again. He is, you know what, I'm just going to turn and so you can see what we're dealing with here. There is Leo pushing over boxes. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anyway. Whatever. Just go into it with expectations that people want to help you, because I think in the vast majority of cases that is the case. So that's all I got. I hope you get a chance to go to one of these events sometime, and that it is productive for you. And I hope this will be helpful to making it so. Now let's talk about grammar. There is an expression, on purpose. You've heard it. I did that on purpose. And then there's the opposite expression, something you don't do on purpose, you do by accident. But I have noticed a real movement among the youth of today that they say on accident instead of by accident. And it's weird because no one ever says by purpose. I don't know what's happening with that. But anyway, properly you should say on purpose and by accident. And I would encourage you to excise the phrase on accident from your vocabulary. Yeah. Not much more to say about that. It's just like one of my things that I have noticed, and both of my children do it. And so obviously there's no reason why you would listen to me any more than they did, but you know, I'm just throwing it out there into the universe. We'll see what happens. Thanks so much for watching. Hope this was, again, useful. Would love to hear your feedback and suggestions. Please put any comments in the comments below, any questions or comments in the comments below, or send us an email to law.jd.admissions@umich.edu and put vlog in the subject line. And as always, many thanks to Dustin Johnston and to Leo Zirfas Hiyama, the best admissions cat in the world. Have a great day. Thanks.